Here's something nobody in the retirement industry wants you to figure out. The entire conversation about retiring abroad, every video, every article, every forum post is built around one person, a single retiree, one social security check, one bedroom apartment, one set of expenses, and if you're a couple, you've been completely left out of that conversation. Until now. Because the math for couples is completely different. Better, actually. Dramatically better. The average combined Social Security benefit for a married couple in America today is roughly $2,800 a month. 2 checks deposited automatically every single month for the rest of your lives. The problem isn't the money. The problem is where you're trying to spend it. In the United States, $2,800 a month for 2 people isn't retirement. It's barely survival. Rent alone in the average American city eats half of that before you've bought a single meal. But here's what the financial advice industry keeps glossing over. In the right country, and there are specific ones, countries with the right visa programs, the right healthcare infrastructure, the right cost of living, that same $2,800 combined check doesn't just cover 2 people. It covers 2 people living well, the beach house, the dinners out, the healthcare, the travel, all of it. We're not talking about $2,800 here, though. We're being more conservative. Because couples don't always collect the maximum, because visa requirements vary, because you want a real cushion, not a fantasy. So, we built this entire list around $2,400 a month, and we found 10 countries where 2 people can retire comfortably, even generously, on that number. Both sides of every story, the good and the catch, because that's what you actually need to make a real decision, counting down 10 to 1. Stay until number 1. That's the country nobody's pitching to couples yet, and the visa math there is almost unfair in your favor. We didn't build this list from a travel blog and a stock photo. We pulled cost of living data from Numbeo's 2024 database, cross-referenced with International Living's annual Global Retirement Index, expat forums on Reddit and Facebook groups with tens of thousands of active members, and wherever possible, real monthly budget breakdowns posted by actual retired couples currently living in these countries. We layered in visa income thresholds, healthcare system rankings from the World Health Organization and CEO World, and safety data from the US State Department. For couples specifically, we looked at 2-bedroom rental markets, joint visa eligibility, and the countries that formally recognize spousal benefits in their retirement programs. What you're about to hear isn't aspirational content, it's a working roadmap. Not the state, the country. The Republic of Georgia, sitting at the crossroads of Eastern Europe and Western Asia, bordered by the Black Sea to the west, Turkey to the south, and the Caucasus Mountains to the north. Most Americans couldn't place it on a map. That's not a criticism, it's the opportunity. Georgia has been quietly becoming one of the most talked about retirement destinations in expat circles for the last 5 years, and it hasn't crossed over into mainstream awareness yet. That window is still open, but it won't be forever. English is not the official language here, Georgian is, and it is genuinely one of the most unique languages on Earth, with its own completely distinct alphabet. But in Tbilisi, the capital, and in tourist and expat areas, English is widely understood. Signs in popular areas are bilingual. The expat community is organized and welcoming, and new arrivals describe getting up to speed quickly. You will need patience in bureaucratic settings, but daily life is manageable from day one. Now, the budget. A furnished two-bedroom apartment in a safe, central Tbilisi neighborhood runs $500 to $700 per month. In the smaller city of Batumi on the Black Sea coast, you're looking at $400 to $600 for comparable space and a water view. Groceries for two people, $150 to $200 per month. A full dinner for two at a proper Georgian restaurant, wine included, because Georgia is one of the oldest wine-producing nations on the planet, runs $15 to $25. A couple living comfortably in Georgia spends $1,400 to $1,800 per month. That's it. That leaves you $600 to $1,000 in cushion from your $2,400 every single month. Georgia's tax system is borderline extraordinary for foreign retirees. Foreign-sourced income, your Social Security, your pension, your IRA distributions, is exempt from Georgian income tax entirely, zero. The country has positioned itself aggressively as a retirement and remote work destination, and the tax code reflects that. Residency for Americans has historically been simple. U.S. citizens can enter Georgia visa-free and stay for up to a year. Longer-term residency requires a formal application, but the income thresholds are among the lowest we found on this entire list. Healthcare in Tbilisi has improved substantially. Private clinics in the capital are modern, English-speaking doctors are findable, and costs are dramatically below U.S. rates. For complex procedures, some expats travel to Turkey, a short flight away where medical tourism infrastructure is world-class. International health insurance remains strongly advised. Here are the catches, and there are real ones. Georgia's infrastructure outside major cities drops off quickly. Roads in rural areas are rough. Public transportation is limited beyond Tbilisi. The language barrier in day-to-day government interactions is genuine, not insurmountable, but real. And while Tbilisi has a vibrant cosmopolitan energy, it's not the Caribbean. The winters are cold, genuinely cold. If you're coming from Florida or Arizona expecting year-round warmth, Batumi on the coast is a better choice than Tbilisi, but neither is a tropical destination. The verdict: for couples who want maximum financial cushion, a genuinely unique cultural experience, extraordinary wine, incredible food, and a country that hasn't been overrun with expats yet, Georgia delivers at a price almost nothing else on this list can match. Here's the country that makes American audiences tense up first, and then, once they actually look at the numbers, can't stop thinking about. Nicaragua has a complicated political reputation, and we're going to address that honestly. But we're also going to give you the full picture, because the people currently living there as retirees have a very different story than the headlines. Nicaragua sits in Central America between Honduras to the north and Costa Rica to the south. Lake Nicaragua, the largest lake in Central America, sits in the heart of the country. The colonial city of Granada, on its shores, with painted churches, cobblestone streets, and a central park flanked by horse-drawn carriages, is one of the most photogenic cities in the entire Western Hemisphere. English is not widely spoken in daily life. Spanish is the language of Nicaragua. However, in expat communities in Granada, San Juan del Sur, and the beach towns along the Pacific coast, English is common in shops, restaurants, and services catering to the international community. Many couples ascribe needing conversational Spanish for full integration. That's not a deal breaker for most people, but it's honest. The cost of living for two people is genuinely shocking even by Latin American standards. A two-bedroom furnished home in Granada runs $400 to $600. On the Pacific coast near San Juan del Sur, with an ocean view, expect $500 to $700. Groceries for two, $150 to $180 per month. A full dinner for two at a mid-range restaurant, $12 to $18. A couple living well in Nicaragua spends $1,200 to $1,600 a month. That is one of the lowest totals on this entire list, and that's comfortable, not stripped down. Nicaragua's Law 694 retirement program, the Pensionado visa, is among the most couple-friendly retirement visa structures we've found. The minimum income requirement is $600 per month for the primary applicant, with a spousal addition of just $150. Combined, you need $750 documented per month to qualify, a threshold that virtually every couple receiving Social Security clears with ease. Benefits include import duty exemptions on household goods and a vehicle, and the residency is indefinitely renewable. Healthcare in Nicaragua is affordable. Private clinics in Managua and Granada serve the expat community, and doctors trained abroad are findable in major centers. For serious medical needs, many couples travel to Costa Rica or directly to the U.S. International health insurance is, once again, not optional. It's the foundation of any safe move to Central America. Now, the honest part. Nicaragua's political situation under the Ortega government is real, and it has meaningfully affected the expat community. Several NGOs and civil society organizations were expelled in 2022 and 2023. Some Americans have felt less welcome than they once did. The U.S. State Department currently rates Nicaragua at level 2, exercise increased caution, which is the same rating as France and Belgium for context, but the political climate has created genuine uncertainty that some retirees find uncomfortable. That's not nothing. It's a real factor in this decision. The verdict. Couples who are genuinely budget-focused, comfortable with a bit of adventure, willing to learn basic Spanish, and doing careful due diligence on the current political environment will find Nicaragua's combination of beauty, history, warmth, and almost absurdly low cost of living unlike almost anything else in the Americas. Albania. Say it again, Albania. One of the least visited, least talked about, least understood countries in all of Europe, sitting on the Adriatic and Ionian coasts of the Balkan Peninsula, across the water from Italy to the west and Greece to the south. And it might be the most underpriced coastal country in the entire continent right now. The Albanian Riviera, a stretch of coastline running south from Vlore to the Greek border, is what the French Riviera looked like 60 years ago before the money arrived. Turquoise water, white pebble beaches, cliffside villages, stone terraces dripping with figs and grapes, and almost no mass tourism infrastructure to ruin it. Not yet. That is changing fast. English is spoken widely among younger Albanians, and in tourist and expat areas in cities like Vlore, Sarande, and the capital Tirana, communication is generally smooth. Tirana itself has undergone a dramatic transformation over the last decade. It's a lively, colorful, genuinely modern European capital with international restaurants, coffee culture, and a growing creative scene. In smaller towns and rural areas, Albanian is the daily reality, and some patience is required. The numbers for two people: a furnished two-bedroom in Tirana's expat-friendly neighborhoods, $450 to $700. A beachside two-bedroom in Sarandey on the southern coast, $400 to $650, with water views that would cost 10 times that in Greece, which is literally visible across the strait. Groceries for two, $130 to $170. Dinner for two at a full-service restaurant with wine, $18 to $28. Total monthly budget for a comfortable couple, $1,400 to $1,900. Albania does not currently have a formal retirement visa program, but Americans can enter visa-free and stay up to a year. Long-term residency through a residence permit is available and does not carry an onerous income threshold. The country is a NATO member and an EU candidate country, which provides a layer of political and institutional stability that some of its Balkan neighbors lack. Healthcare is the most significant limitation here. Albania's public healthcare system is under-resourced. Serious medical conditions should be treated in Tirana's better private clinics, or, given how close it is, in Greece or Italy, both reachable by ferry or short flight. Comprehensive international health insurance is absolutely non-negotiable here. The catch is beyond healthcare. Albania is not yet a well-worn expat destination, so the community infrastructure that exists in, say, Panama or Portugal simply isn't there yet. You're somewhat pioneering. Roads outside cities range from decent to poor. And the country's historical isolation under communist rule until the early 1990s means some bureaucratic systems are still catching up to modern standards. The verdict: for couples who want European coastline at genuinely pre-discovery prices, a sense of adventure, and the quiet satisfaction of telling people you've found somewhere truly extraordinary before everyone else does, Albania is a compelling, underrated choice. The only English-speaking country in Central America. Full stop. That matters enormously for couples who want the cost savings of Latin America without the language barrier, and Belize delivers exactly that. Belize sits on the northeastern coast of Central America, bordered by Mexico to the north and Guatemala to the west and south, the Caribbean Sea to the east. The Belize Barrier Reef, the largest in the northern hemisphere, runs the entire length of its coastline, making it a world-class destination for diving, snorkeling, fishing, and sailing. The Cayes, small coral islands offshore, Ambergris Cay and Cay Caulker in particular, have built thriving expat communities of retired couples from the US, Canada, and the UK who discovered exactly what we're about to describe. English is the official language, inherited from over a century as British Honduras. Government, schools, courts, daily commerce, all in English. Your bank, your doctor, your landlord, all in English. No language learning required. For couples who want to retire abroad but aren't prepared to navigate a new language in their 60s, this is an important distinction. For two people on Ambergris Cay, the most developed expat island, a furnished two-bedroom runs $800 to $1,200, higher than many entries on this list because the island infrastructure and demand has driven prices up. On the mainland in Plasencia or Corazao, that number drops to $500 to $800. Groceries for two, $200 to $250, as imported goods carry a premium. Dinner for two at a local seafood restaurant, $25 to $40. A comfortable couple's monthly budget in Belize runs $1,600 to $2,100. Tighter on $2,400, but workable with discipline, and genuinely comfortable in the lower-cost mainland areas. Belize's Qualified Retired Persons Program, the QRP, is one of the most generous, couple-friendly retirement programs in the entire Western Hemisphere. The income requirement is $2,000 per month from a foreign source, and that threshold covers both spouses under a single application. One visa, two people. Both are legal permanent residents. Both get the full suite of benefits: duty-free import of personal and household effects, a vehicle, and a boat. Zero tax on income earned outside Belize. The QRP is widely regarded as one of the cleanest, most professionally run retirement programs in the region. Healthcare on Ambergris Caye has a local hospital and private clinics with English-speaking staff. For serious conditions, most expats fly to the US or Mexico. An established relationship with a good international health insurance provider is, again, essential. The catch is, Belize is not the cheapest option on this list, not by a long way. Ambergris Caye in particular has seen significant price inflation driven by expat demand, and $2,400 leaves less cushion than several other countries here. Crime in Belize City is a real and documented concern. Most expats avoid it entirely and base themselves in the Cays or southern coastal towns. Hurricanes are a legitimate risk in the Caribbean, and Belize is in the belt. The verdict: for couples who want Caribbean beauty, world-class reef diving, English as the language of daily life, and one of the most respected couples retirement visa programs in Central America, Belize is exceptional. Budget carefully, avoid Belize City, and you have a genuinely extraordinary life. Medellín specifically, the most dramatic rehabilitation story in the entire global retirement landscape, and it deserves to be addressed head-on because the transformation is real, documented, and matters. In the 1980s and early 1990s, Medellín was the most dangerous city on earth. That is historical fact. What's equally factual is what happened next. A sustained, multi-decade civic transformation, new infrastructure, investment, education, tourism, and the largest influx of international residents of any city in Latin America turned Medellín into what the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times have both called one of the most innovative cities in the world. It was named the most innovative city on the planet by the Urban Land Institute and City in 2013. That's not a travel blog claim, that's mainstream institutional recognition. The city of eternal spring. Medellín sits in the Andes at 4,900 feet above sea level, giving it a climate that averages 72 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. No air conditioning required, no heavy winter coats, just perpetual spring. English is not the primary language. Spanish is the language of Colombia. In Medellín's El Poblado and Laureles neighborhoods, the most popular expat areas, English is workable in restaurants, cafes, and services. But full integration requires Spanish, and most couples describe it as genuinely enriching to learn. The city has excellent language schools at very low cost. For two people, a furnished two-bedroom in El Poblado, $700 to $1,100. In Laureles, slightly more local and slightly less touristy, $500 to $800. Groceries for two in a city with extraordinary fresh produce markets, $150 to $200. A full dinner for two at a quality restaurant in El Poblado, $20 to $35. A comfortable couple's monthly budget in Medellín, $1,500 to $2,000. Colombia's Pensionado visa requires proof of a pension or retirement income of at least 3 times the Colombian monthly minimum wage, currently around $800 to $850 US per month. 2 Social Security checks combined that exceed that threshold qualify. Residency is valid for 3 years and renewable. Pensionados get discounts on cultural, recreational, and sporting events and on some public services. Healthcare in Medellín is the surprise on this list. Colombia has one of the top-rated healthcare systems in Latin America. The country spends heavily on medical infrastructure and has produced internationally trained physicians. Private hospitals in Medellín, like Clínica Las Américas and Clínica del Campestre, treat international patients routinely, speak English, and charge rates dramatically below the US. Dental care in particular draws medical tourists from around the world. A root canal that costs $1,500 in the US runs $150 to $200 here. This is not an exaggeration. The catch is, safety requires ongoing awareness. El Poblado and Laureles are genuinely safe by any international standard, but stepping outside those zones requires common sense precautions. Petty theft is real. Complacency is the enemy. Some parts of Medellín, and certainly rural Colombia, carry risks that don't apply to where most expats actually live, but honesty requires saying it. Colombia's political situation has stabilized significantly, but it remains a country navigating complex internal dynamics. Keep yourself informed. The verdict. For couples who want world-class climate, extraordinary healthcare, a massive international expat community, a city that's one of the most genuinely vibrant in all of South America, and the financial space to live well on $2,400, Medellín is one of the most complete packages anywhere. Here's where we start talking about the country every retirement list mentions and the critical difference in how couples should approach it versus singles. Because Portugal done right, and by that I mean outside Lisbon and the most tourist-saturated parts of the Algarve, is still one of the most compelling destinations in Europe for a couple at this budget. Done wrong, it burns your money fast. Portugal sits on the western edge of the Iberian Peninsula, Atlantic Ocean coastline to the west and south, Spain to the east. It is genuine Western Europe, EU member, NATO member, stable democracy, world-class infrastructure. International flights to the US are direct from Lisbon on multiple carriers. Family visits are manageable. That matters enormously for couples who aren't willing to disappear entirely. English is widely and fluently spoken throughout Portugal, particularly in cities, tourist areas, and among anyone under 50. In rural interior towns, Portuguese is the daily reality, but the expat communities in coastal towns are English fluent enough that daily life functions smoothly. Here's the critical budget distinction for Portugal in 2026. Lisbon and most of the Algarve coastline between Faro and Lagos are no longer accessible on $2,400 a month for 2 people. That ship has sailed. Property prices and rents have increased dramatically over the last decade, driven by digital nomads, tourism, and European internal migration. A couple trying to live in central Lisbon on $2,400 will struggle. But the Silver Coast, the stretch of Atlantic coastline north of Lisbon around towns like Nazaré, Peniche, and Óbidos, and the interior regions like the Alentejo wine country and the Douro Valley, are genuinely different. A furnished two-bedroom in a Silver Coast town, $700 to $1,000. In the Alentejo interior, $500 to $800. Groceries for two, $200 to $250. A full dinner for two with wine in a regional restaurant, $25 to $40. A comfortable couple's monthly budget in non-tourist Portugal, $1,700 to $2,200. Tight but real. Portugal's D7 passive income visa is designed for retirees. The income requirement as of 2024 is roughly €760 per month for the primary applicant, plus €380 for a dependent spouse, combined approximately $1,250 US at current rates. 2 Social Security checks comfortably clear this threshold. The D7 grants legal residency, access to public health care, and a path to permanent residency and eventual EU citizenship after 5 years. That last part, the EU passport, is something no other country on this list offers. Portugal's public healthcare system is ranked consistently in the top tier in Europe. As a legal resident, you access it directly. Private healthcare is affordable and excellent as a supplement. The catches. Portugal's rental market is tight and competitive. Finding a good property takes time and persistence. Bureaucracy, especially around the NHR tax regime changes in 2024, requires professional guidance. A local accountant or immigration lawyer is not optional, it's an investment. And Portugal's appeal is its curse. It keeps getting more popular, and the budget window is narrower than it was 3 years ago. If the EU passport matters to you, Portugal is worth the squeeze. If it doesn't, several countries on this list offer more space to breathe at $2,400. The verdict: for couples who want genuine Western Europe, direct flights home, an EU passport path, and a Mediterranean-adjacent quality of life, Portugal, chosen carefully and located strategically, still delivers. But do the geography homework before you book the flights. The country that's been on every retirement list for 30 years, and with very good reason, Costa Rica has earned its reputation. What makes it interesting for couples specifically in 2026 is how dramatically the experience varies by where you actually live, and how a couple's combined income changes the calculus in meaningful ways. Costa Rica is a stable, democratic Central American country with no standing army since 1948, consistently ranked as one of the safest countries in Latin America, and blessed with extraordinary geographic diversity. Rainforest, cloud forest, Pacific beaches, Caribbean coast, active volcanoes, and a wildlife density that makes it one of the most biodiverse nations per square mile on Earth. The Central Valley, the high-altitude plateau where the capital San Jose sits, has a spring-like climate year-round. The coasts are hot and humid. You choose the climate you want. English is widely spoken in tourist areas, expat communities, and among educated ticos, as locals are known. In San Jose, Escazú, Santa Ana, and the Pacific Coast beach towns, daily life in English is very workable. In rural areas, Spanish is necessary. Most couples report that basic Spanish genuinely enriches the experience and is worth learning, but is not required for functional daily life in expat-heavy zones. For two people, a furnished two-bedroom in Escazú or Santa Ana, the most established expat suburbs of San Jose, runs $900 to $1,400. In the Central Valley towns of Atenas or Grecia, often cited as having the best climate in the world, $600 to $900. On the Pacific coast in areas like Tamarindo or the Nicoya Peninsula, $700 to $1,100 for beachside or near-beach living. Groceries for two, $250 to $350. Costa Rica is more expensive for food than most of Latin America. A dinner for two at a quality restaurant, $30 to $50. A couple's comfortable monthly budget in Costa Rica, $1,800 to $2,300. Height on $2,400, but achievable with intention, especially in the Central Valley rather than the tourist beach towns. Costa Rica's Pensionado visa is exactly calibrated for couples receiving combined Social Security. The requirement is a minimum pension income of $1,000 per month. That's it. Combined Social Security checks well above that threshold qualify. Both spouses are covered under a single application. Benefits include permanent legal residency, import duty exemptions on household effects, and a notable perk, 50% discounts on entertainment, movies, sporting events, cultural venues, and 20% discounts on utilities for pensionados. Costa Rica's public healthcare system, is available to legal residents, consistently ranked among the best in Latin America, and costs residents a monthly contribution based on income, typically $70 to $120 per person. The catches: Costa Rica has become expensive by Central American standards. If you're comparing pure cost efficiency, Colombia, Panama, or Nicaragua beat it clearly. The road infrastructure outside major areas ranges from acceptable to genuinely rough four-wheel drive vehicles are not a luxury in many regions. Traffic in the San Jose metro area is a legitimate quality of life issue. And the Pacific and Caribbean coasts sit squarely in hurricane and tropical storm territory, requiring robust insurance planning. The verdict: for couples who want political stability, a mature and organized expat community, accessible quality healthcare, extraordinary natural beauty, and a country that has been welcoming retired Americans for decades with a well-oiled infrastructure for doing so, Costa Rica is as close to a proven bet as you'll find on this list. Panama is where the numbers for couples stop being comfortable and start being extraordinary. Because Panama has done something almost no other country has. It built a retirement program specifically structured to make couples feel actively wanted, financially rewarded, and permanently welcomed. Panama sits at the southern tip of Central America, connecting North and South America at the canal, one of the most important pieces of infrastructure in human history. Panama City is a genuine first-world capital: glass skyscrapers, modern hospitals, international restaurants, a metro system, direct flights to Miami, Houston, Atlanta, and New York on multiple carriers. This is not a rough-around-the-edges adventure destination. Panama City is a working, sophisticated, fully modern city that happens to sit in the tropics. English is widely spoken in Panama City, in the expat communities of Coronado and Boquete, and in the tourism and service industry broadly. In rural areas and smaller towns, Spanish is necessary. Most couples describe Spanish as helpful but not required for comfortable daily life in the main expat zones. The numbers for 2 people, a furnished 2-bedroom in Panama City's Casco Viejo Historic District or Marbella, $900 to $1,400, in the beach town of Coronado, an hour from the city with Pacific Ocean access, $700 to $1,000. In Boquete, the highland mountain town in Chiriquí province that's become one of the most popular retirement destinations in all of Latin America, $600 to $900. Groceries for 2, $250 to $350. Dinner for 2 at a good Panama City restaurant, $30 to $50. Total monthly couples budget, $1,700 to $2,200 depending on location. But here's where Panama does something remarkable. The Pensionado visa, and this is the most important visa feature on this entire list for couples, requires just $1,000 per month in qualifying pension income for both of you, combined. 1 application, 2 permanent residents. And the discounts pensionados receive are not minor perks. They are a structured, legally enforced benefit system unlike anything else in this hemisphere. 25% off airline tickets, 50% off entertainment, hotels, cinemas, 15 to 20% off at restaurants, 10% off prescription medications, 20% off medical consultations. These aren't occasional promotions, they're statutory rights. And Panama uses the US dollar. The official currency is the Balboa, which is pegged 1-to-1 to the dollar and fully interchangeable. You will never touch a currency exchange. Your Social Security check deposits and spends as dollars. No exchange rate risk, no conversion math. For a couple receiving combined Social Security in US dollars, this removes an entire layer of financial uncertainty that every other country on this list requires you to manage. Healthcare in Panama City is the best in Central America by most independent rankings. Hospital Punta Pacifica, affiliated with Johns Hopkins, and Hospital Nacional, provide care that matches many U.S. private hospitals at a fraction of the cost. English-speaking doctors trained in the U.S. and Europe are common. Medical tourism to Panama for procedures like joint replacement and cardiac care is an established and respected industry. The catches: Panama City is expensive by regional standards. If you're comparing costs to Costa Rica, Colombia, or Nicaragua, you'll spend more here. The humidity in the lowlands and coastal areas is extreme. Panama is genuinely tropical and genuinely hot, 12 months a year. Boquete offers relief, but it's a mountain town, not a beach town, and the social infrastructure there is almost entirely expat-driven, which some couples love and others find limiting. And Panama's property market in some popular areas has seen rapid price increases driven by expat and retiree demand. Buy versus rent decisions deserve careful analysis. The verdict: for couples who want dollar-based security, first-world urban infrastructure, the best structured retirement discount program in the Western Hemisphere, direct flights home, and world-class healthcare, Panama is the most complete practical package in Central America. The budget is tighter at $2,400, but the infrastructure is the best. We covered Penang as the single retiree's #1 in our last video, and for good reason. But what changes when you run the couple's math, and more importantly, when you look at what Malaysia does for two people on a joint visa, is enough to keep it in the top 2 on this list as well. Penang is a Malaysian island state off the northwestern coast of the Malay Peninsula. Georgetown, its capital, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. 200-year-old Chinese shophouses, Indian temples, colonial-era British architecture, and walls covered in commissioned street art that's become internationally famous. It is one of the most visually layered, culturally dense, genuinely stunning cities in all of Southeast Asia. English is the second official language of Malaysia, used in business, law, education, and daily life. In Penang specifically, English functions as the lingua franca between the island's Chinese, Malay, and Indian communities. They use it with each other, not just with foreigners. You will not have a language barrier in Penang, not even slightly. For two people, a furnished 2-bedroom apartment in a safe, expat-friendly Georgetown neighborhood, $600 to $1,000. With a sea view, $800 to $1,200. Groceries for two at the wet market, $150 to $200 per month, buying extraordinarily well. And then there's the food situation, which deserves a separate sentence. Penang is ranked by multiple international food publications as one of the top 3 food cities on Earth. Hawker stalls serving generational recipes for $1 to $3 per dish mean a couple can eat dinner at the famous Gurney Drive Hawker Center. Char kway teow, Assam laksa, Hokkien Mee, oyster omelette for $8 to $12 total. That is a restaurant dinner for two at one of the best food destinations in the world for under $15. No American couple eats that well for that price anywhere in the continental United States. Healthcare. Penang has internationally accredited private hospitals staffed by UK, Australia, and US trained physicians. Specialist consultations run $25 to $40. An MRI costs $150 to $250. Procedures cost 70 to 80% less than comparable US care without insurance approval delays. Total couples monthly budget in Penang, $1,400 to $1,900, living well. Not frugally, well. Malaysia, my second home, MM2H, is a dedicated long-term residency visa program with over 2 decades of operational history. As of 2024, the program requires proof of liquid offshore assets of roughly $150,000 and a monthly offshore income of approximately $3,000 Malaysian ringgit, around $650 US at current rates. Both spouses are covered under a single application. The 2021 overhaul made it more expensive and more restrictive than it used to be. We're not going to pretend otherwise. If the financial threshold is a barrier, the program has become less accessible than it was 5 years ago. Worth researching the latest requirements carefully and working with a licensed MM2H agent, not attempting it alone. The catches beyond the visa overhaul, the heat and humidity are intense and year-round. 88 to 93 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity is the daily baseline. Most expats acclimatize, some don't. For couples where one partner has respiratory or cardiac conditions, this deserves honest medical consultation before committing. Alcohol is heavily taxed. Wine and beer cost significantly more than in the West. And Penang's growing popularity is putting upward pressure on rents in the most desirable expat neighborhoods. The verdict: For couples who want first world healthcare, extraordinary food, a culturally rich UNESCO heritage city, English as a daily language, and one of the lowest total monthly expenses on this list, Penang is extraordinary. The visa requires financial preparation. The reward is a life most Americans genuinely can't believe costs what it does. And here it is, the country nobody is pitching directly to couples right now, despite having what may be the single most favorable combination of features on this entire list for two people sharing a retirement budget. Ecuador. Small, stable, and strategically placed on the northwestern coast of South America, bordered by Colombia to the north and Peru to the south. 4 completely distinct geographic zones in one country: the Pacific Coast, the Andean Highlands, the Amazon Basin, and the Galapagos Islands, one of the most extraordinary ecosystems on Earth, accessible by domestic flight for costs well below what American tourists pay for package tours. Retirees living in Ecuador visit the Galapagos as a long weekend trip. Read that sentence again. Quito, the capital, sits at 9,350 feet in the Andes. The weather is spring-like and consistent, 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. It is a UNESCO World Heritage City. The historic center has the best preserved colonial architecture in Latin America. Cuenca, the city most retirement experts recommend, sits lower in the southern Andes at 8,400 feet. It's smaller, quieter, cleaner, and has become the most established retirement destination for American couples in all of South America. San Jose, the beach destination of choice for many expat couples, offers Pacific Ocean living at dramatically lower prices than the Highlands. Spanish is the national language. In Cuenca and Quito, English is common in tourist and expat areas, and the expat community, one of the largest in South America per capita, has created a full ecosystem of English language services, social groups, and support systems for new arrivals. Most couples describe picking up conversational Spanish as straightforward given the exposure, and many say it becomes one of the most rewarding parts of living there. Now, the numbers. And this is where Ecuador goes from impressive to almost unfair. A furnished 2-bedroom apartment in Cuenca's historic center or expat neighborhoods, $500 to $800 per month. In Quito's Gonzalez Suarez corridor, $700 to $1,000. Near the beach in Salinas or Manta, $400 to $700. Groceries for two at Cuenca's world-famous indoor market, the Mercado Tin de Agosto, $120 to $180 per month. Fresh organic produce, local cheeses, incredible variety, at prices that feel like a different era. Dinner for two at a quality Cuencano restaurant, $14 to $22. A couple living comfortably in Cuenca spends between $1,300 and $1,700 per month. That's $700 to $1,100 in cushion from your $2,400 every single month. That's savings. That's a travel fund. That's security. Ecuador uses the US dollar. The official currency is the dollar. No conversion, no exchange risk, no trips to a foreign bank. Your Social Security check deposits in dollars and spends as dollars. Panama is the only other country on this list with this advantage, and Ecuador is significantly more affordable. Ecuador's Pensionado visa is the couple's visa we kept coming back to as we built this list. The income requirement for the primary applicant is $800 per month from a pension or Social Security. Each additional dependent, including your spouse, requires an additional $100 per month. The combined threshold for both of you, $900 per month. Combined. That is an income threshold that every married couple receiving any Social Security clears automatically. Both of you have permanent legal residency with a single application, and both enjoy the full Pensionado benefit structure, import duty exemptions on household effects and a vehicle, and legally mandated discounts. 50% off cultural and sporting events, 50% off air and bus transportation domestically, discounts on utilities and medical services. Ecuador's healthcare system, centered in Quito and Cuenca, is the strongest argument for retirement there, beyond the cost. Cuenca's Hospital Monte Sinai and Hospital Santa Inés provide care that international expat organizations consistently rate as genuinely excellent. English-speaking physicians trained in the US and Spain are findable. Procedures and specialist consultations cost 60 to 80% below US rates. Dental care is world-class and extraordinarily cheap. A full dental implant in Cuenca costs $1,000 to $1,500 complete. That same procedure in the United States runs $4,000 to $6,000. The medical tourism infrastructure for Americans in Cuenca is mature, established, and well-reviewed. The expat community in Cuenca is the largest proportionally in South America, with tens of thousands of American and Canadian retirees. There are established English-language churches, social clubs, volunteer organizations, hiking groups, language exchange programs, and support systems specifically designed to help new couples integrate. You will not feel isolated. You will have a social life from week one. The catches, because we always give you the full picture. Altitude. Cuenca at 8,400 feet is challenging for the first few weeks. Some people experience headaches, fatigue, and breathlessness. Most acclimatize within a month. But for couples where either partner has significant heart or lung conditions, the altitude is a genuine medical consideration that requires consultation before committing. Ecuador's Pacific Coast and Galapagos regions are at sea level and don't carry this issue. Second, Ecuador has experienced some political and economic instability in recent years. Protests, strikes, and a challenging security environment in Guayaquil and parts of Quito outside the expat areas. Cuenca has remained substantially more stable and safer than the major cities, and is ranked among the safest mid-sized cities in Latin America. But staying informed about the broader national situation is wise. Third, the internet in rural areas can be unreliable. In Cuenca and Quito, it's generally fast and stable, but couples who depend on consistent video communication should choose neighborhoods carefully. None of those catches change the fundamental reality. For two people, sharing expenses on a combined $2,400 Social Security income, no country on this list, not one, offers a better combination of dollar-based financial security, low income threshold for couples' joint residency, world-class budget, available healthcare, established expat community, and extraordinary quality of life. That's number one, and it's not particularly close. 10 countries. 10 different trade-offs, every single one offering something the United States simply cannot. A life that fits inside $2,400 a month for two people, without sacrificing dignity, comfort, or joy. Georgia, the undiscovered frontier, with zero tax on foreign income and $1,800 a month for two. Nicaragua, the Caribbean's most underpriced colonial gem for couples who want raw value. Albania, European coastline that looks like the Mediterranean looked 60 years ago. Belize, the only English-speaking country in Central America, with one of the most generous couples import duty programs in the hemisphere. Colombia's Medellín, eternal spring weather, world-class healthcare, and a city transformation that's become a model for the world. Portugal, the EU passport path, with Silver Coast living still within reach for disciplined couples. Costa Rica, the proven bet, a 30-year track record, established infrastructure, and a pension visa designed for exactly your income level. Panama, dollar-based, direct flights home, the most structured retirement discount system in the Western Hemisphere. Penang, UNESCO heritage, legendary food, first world hospitals at prices that shouldn't be legal. And Ecuador, number one, dollar economy, a joint couples visa that almost every Social Security couple qualifies for automatically, and a monthly budget that leaves you with real money left over. There is no one right answer. The right country for you depends on climate, language comfort, healthcare needs, proximity to family, and the kind of life you actually want to wake up to every morning. Every couple on this list made a different choice. Every single one of them will tell you the same thing. They wish they'd done the research earlier. Visit first. Always visit first. The world is wider and more affordable than anyone told you it was going to be. And your combined Social Security check, the one everyone keeps telling you isn't enough, is more than enough, in the right place. But here's what we need to say before you close this video. Not every destination that looks perfect on paper is safe right now. Several countries that were on retirement lists 3 years ago have quietly become places where Americans are facing legal issues, property confiscation, and a political climate that's turned hostile. We've done that research too. The country's actively becoming dangerous for American retirees in 2026. That video is right on your screen, and it may be the most important one you watch today. Because a great retirement isn't just about finding the right place. It's about avoiding the wrong ones.